All right, let's start this.
All right.
The responsible people are gone. You and I are talking about a book that only
Exactly.
you and I have read.
We're going rogue. We're going rogue, guys. Yeah. So this is Three Body Problem. I am about halfway through it. Vincent here, he read all the books, all three books.
One of my favorite book series
Yeah.
ever.
And this is the first time that I'm diving into it. So this is purely my first impressions. I'm about more than halfway through the book. I'll probably finish it by like tomorrow. But yeah, so we're just gonna talk about what I think because he's very excited to hear my theories this far through this mystery book.
Yeah, so we're gonna do another video when he finishes, and we're gonna look at a lot of what he says here, and we're gonna compare, see what he thinks about his thoughts, see how smart he was, because a big aspect of this is a big mystery. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of reveals towards the end of the book, and it changes the way you look at a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So I know it's very mind bending for like, well, up until now I'm still confused with a lot of
Yeah.
it. It still hurts my head. It's still I don't know. I know the payoff is gonna be amazing.
So, for the people at home, just to know where you're at, could you give a rundown of everything that's happened so far?
So pretty much it starts with Ye Zetai. His daughter's a very important character.
Ye Wen-jae.
Ye Wen-jae, yes, and she goes to this mysterious lab, and then it fast forward 40 years later, and now I'm following, I guess, the seemingly main character who's in the middle of this big plot where scientists are dying, and he's starting to see numbers, and another character named Shea Wu Fei,
Which I don't remember because I read this like over a year ago.
You read it a while ago, but she pretty much she knows too much. She knows the plot that's going on, and she pretty much tells him be like, hey, just stop doing what you're doing, and the numbers will stop. And he's like, stop doing what, like what? That's like so vague. And pretty much he was leading a project on a particle accelerator, and then the next day, pretty much the particle accelerator had issues, and the people around him were like, oh, sir, we like Wang, we have to stop it for repairs. But and by this point, Wang is deteriorated, like he mentally deteriorated. He looks disheveled because all he sees is this ticking like countdown, and then
Which is crazy,
Yeah.
like how they show it. Like imagine just seeing hours ticking down.
Yeah.
And you do the math and you realize, oh my god, this is like however many days.
It was 50 days. It was like 1,187 hours, something like that. 1,190 hours when he first saw it. And how he saw it was that he was taking like pictures through his like digital camera, and this timeline came out nowhere on it. And he was like, this is not part of the film. And then he realized it was a ticking countdown, that it wasn't like time
that he eventually started seeing on his own, right? Separate from...
Yeah, so he dreamed it like a few days later. He dreamed it, and then when he opened his eyes, the countdown stayed in front of him on the ceiling. And then when he went outside, it would change colors to like contrast with the background. So like it really was following him around. And then he gets to his particle accelerator, and then he eventually agrees to stop it for repairs. And then when he stops the particle accelerator, the countdown like kind of flickers and fizzles out and goes away. And we have yet to get to the countdown. So where I'm in the book, the countdown has yet to return. But then when he went to the woman Shea Wu Fei, he realized that she was playing this game. When he was with that little secret, there's a secret committee investigating these scientists' deaths, and they told him like pretty much to infiltrate his colleagues and to find anything he could find about why these scientists are like unaliving themselves.
Yeah.
And
en masse, like
en masse.
all over the world.
Yeah, and pretty much the common thing with them was they all said that like physics is dead, or like physics doesn't exist itself.
Not even real.
Yeah, not even physics is not real, which is a crazy statement, which I'm still confused about sometimes. And so pretty much he realized that the main woman that like knows too much, she plays this game called Three Body, and he remembers the URL. He's like, you know what, I want to tell this to like my colleagues. It's kind of like what the information they want, like what are these scientists doing on their day to day. And he plays this game. It's a virtual reality game where the whole point is to survive, and time is like elapses quickly. So you go through civilization, you go from the Stone Age, and the point of the game is to make it, I guess, all the way to modern times. But the caveat is that there's these suns, right? So stable era, right? It's really hard to explain.
Yeah, this part gets really confusing.
It gets really confusing. So you have the stable era, which is when crops can grow. Civilization flourishes.
Has that been explained for you yet?
what makes a stable era?
Yeah, what makes a stable era?
They said that that's when one of the suns, that the Earth is rotating around one of the suns.
Yeah.
So
and
that's
then like chaotic eras
is when the other two come in. So we'll get
Yeah.
to that. So pretty much, so stable era, everything grows, but stable eras are very rare and very short because so when there's not a stable era, there is a chaotic one. And the chaotic ones, nothing could grow. Everything burns, everything dies. So the whole point of the game is to kind of investigate or predict when there's a stable era, when there's a chaotic era. And this is when the book kind of got a little crazy to me, because there's like a lot of players trying to figure out, academics trying to figure it out in the game. That's what they're playing the game. And there's a lot of NPCs, and there's this concept or this mechanic of rehydrating and dehydrating,
which is the trippiest thing
it's
ever.
so trippy. It kind of like took me out the book for a second. I was like, what kind of book am I reading? Because literally your liquids leave your body and you
almost like flatten
and you could like I'll be like, oh Vinny, a chaotic era is coming, we need you to dehydrate. He like his liquids just come out, he'll flatten. I can like roll him up and put him in my backpack.
Yeah, I could literally say like, I'm not gonna make it, Seb. Could you take me to where we need to go? I could dehydrate. He could roll me up and just carry me along.
Right in my backpack.
Yeah.
And then when there's a stable era, you rehydrate. And they do this in mass because there's civilizations where there's kings, right? And everything. And
they have to decide when
to rehydrate, when to dehydrate. And they rehydrate by like taking all the rolls of people that they have like in these like sheds and like storage areas and just throwing them into lakes.
One detail that is, I don't know if you mentioned like explicitly, is that when it's a chaotic era, if these people aren't dehydrated, they're just killed. Like,
permanently.
Permanently.
Permanently dead. So that's the strat, is to rehydrate, dehydrate.
Yeah. And like dehydrating makes it so that when it's a chaotic era, because it gets super hot, dry, that you're able to just survive because there's nothing in you that is really like being
there's
like,
nothing burned away. So that's why. So they keep these dehydrated bodies of players and well, mostly NPCs, right? In storage sheds, and they're so the main character Wang is in this world that everyone's trying to figure out how to predict the chaotic and stable eras, and that's the whole point of the game. So eventually he figures out that that there's pretty much more than one sun. I'm fast forwarding a little bit, right? More than one sun, and that's why the book is called The Three Body Problem. He figured out there's three suns, and in real life, three body problems to figure out that when there's three stellar, like you said, you explain it better.
Like it's like there are three stellar bodies where a star is one. When you have one star, like our solar system, it's extremely easy to predict what's going to happen because there's only one thing affecting it. When you have two, it's easier, but not like, or it's not. It's harder, but it's not insanely easy because you're seeing how it will revolve around these two things.
Yeah.
Throw in three, because they will revolve around each other. One star will affect another star, which affects another star, which is affecting all of the things in the solar system, and they're all revolving around each other. It's so impossible to predict it that it's like you will constantly be doing the math.
Honestly. You're constantly like forever. Like it's really impossible. It's like millions and millions, billions of combinations. So that's the whole point of the game, is to solve this impossible issue, this impossible like equation,
and to save the civilization.
And to go as far as possible. So eventually, when Wang in game discovered that there might be more than one sun, because while there's nighttime, you see like two stellar objects, like two stars in the back.
And like, that's during stable eras.
During stable eras, so you had the one sun, and then like at night you see two more stars. So you realize those two stars are the other suns that come in during the chaotic era. They're constantly orbiting each other and revolving around each other.
Didn't she realize because there's a lot of instances where Wang is in the game and he dies because a chaotic era comes on suddenly. Yeah,
mostly because of the other scientists that are around him. He's not the only one trying to figure it out. There's other scientists that are using much more archaic methods, much more old school. Like when I'm talking about old school, I'm talking like thousands of years ago. Because they kind of like role play old
like
astronomy. There's like Copernicus, like Newton is a character in the game, but these are like academics playing these characters, or there might be NPCs that are these characters in the game.
Yeah, maybe a few. I think most of the ones named after real world scientists are like scientists or people in the real world that are like fans of
Exactly.
those people.
Exactly. So they want to like use their ideas, like Newton's law, to like figure it out, and they will role play Newton, or like they role play Copernicus, or and so a lot of these scientists have like very archaic ways of figuring out, very like from their time, and they will always predict it. They always have like their theories, whether it's my favorite. I don't even remember. His name was Mazi. In the beginning, Mazi believed that the Earth itself is in this lake of lava, and that that there's a shell over the Earth, and there's holes in the shell, and that's where you get the sun. The sun is pretty much the lake of lava from the outside peering in, and that pretty much in the shell itself, and you have the Earth. They're moving in each other, like the shell is moving in different directions as the Earth is rotating. So that's why the sun sets and goes over. It's sometimes chaotic because it's like random. That was like his idea, but apparently he and then what the kings want to hear is that there's gonna be a long stable era. That's what they all want to hear, so they can rehydrate and flourish. But all these scientists, other than Wang, are just getting like they're off by like a little bit, where they're like, oh, there's a 2-year stable era coming, but then all of a sudden it'll be like a year into the stable era, and then all of a sudden 2 suns come out of nowhere, and then again like dehydrate, and the whole game ends.
That's funny you say that, because I think one of the things that made Wang even realize that there's multiple stars was that he would see the main star up in the sky during a chaotic era, another one would just appear, and they're just like, what's happening?
Exactly.
Like, is that not the sun?
Is that not the sun? Yeah.
And it is like some really eventful scenes in the book where you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
What just happened?
Exactly. So that leads to Wang realizing that there's 3 suns, and that again mimics the 3-body problem. How can you predict it? How can you beat this game by solving this impossible equation that mimics reality, because it mimics civilization surviving? And so that's like the plot within the game, and I know eventually the plot within the game will meet the plot outside the game. It kind of does already, but on the outside, going back to the scientist's daughter from the beginning.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're leaving out a big
part of it, I know. So going back to the scientist's daughter in the beginning, how the last thing we saw of her, that she went to this lab after her father died. Her father was executed.
Yeah, like in front of everyone.
Because this takes during the Chinese Revolution. Right?
Yeah, which is very interesting. It's like
counter-revolution, right?
Yeah, it's the Chinese Cultural Revolution.
Yeah.
It's when from my understanding of this, don't quote me, I'm not like a history expert. Yeah. I think this is when communism took over China, like before it went back to like what it is now. It's not.
It's still communism.
It is okay. Yeah. But when it was still like the Communist Party China and stuff, when it was first starting, they went and kind of attacked all of like these scientists, intellectuals, teachers, and all of these things. Yeah. Because I don't really understand the point of it, but it was happening en masse. Yeah. And it was doing it almost to attack the ideas of these people.
Old ideas, like an old age of science, old age of
even the recent stuff, because they hated ideas coming from Einstein. Anything coming from the West was deemed as like
demonized, really.
Yeah, and the main term that was used was reactionary.
Reactionary.
That like they hear something and it's reactionary, they have to respond to it.
So her name's Ye, right?
Yeah, Ye Wenjie.
Ye Wenjie. She is one of these reactionary scientists.
The daughter of one.
The daughter.
But also like a star pupil of that person. Like she is a genius herself.
She's a genius herself. And she eventually escapes China, goes to Mongolia, but kind of like punishment, right? They kind of like, she's out there.
I think it's still part of the
China. Right? It's part of. So I think they put her there as like a camp there. And she's
logging and stuff.
Logging, a lot of lumber, cutting down trees, and she realizes that they're on the mountain behind them. There's this lab, big antenna, and there's like
one detail that becomes important from her logging experience, and like through talking to different people, she starts to kind of have like a love for nature to some degree, like an appreciation.
I can see that.
An appreciation.
Because during that chapter, it's like the second, third chapter. She doesn't like what they're doing out there, deforestation, and then she also focuses on the fact that around the lab, there's a lot of death of like animals, wildlife around the lab,
And even the people have some weird effects.
Yeah, just saying
from,
like
being near it.
exactly, like the workers that work near the lab suffer from hair loss and stuff like that. So that it says radiation. The radiation levels around the lab are really high, and apparently, eventually, she befriended this guy there named I think B Mulin, Bolin. I think his name's Bolin, and he's very kind of how I read it. Like he agrees with her for most things. Gives her a book about very reactionary ideals
in English too.
In English, and she's like the only one in this camp that understands English, but eventually that came to like bite her in the butt. It came back to like it came back.
They find the book.
They find the people in the camp find the book, but instead of punishing her and putting her in prison, they bring her up to the lab, essentially, that she's been so enamored with. And it was like, hey, instead of putting you in prison, you have to agree to work here for like kind of like the rest of the foreseeable future. Yeah. And she says yes, like straight up yes, because she believes that she can make a change, or something. Like she's very strong woman. She's like, maybe I can make a change here, or get smarter, and get more information. And that's kind of like where the big mystery unfolds.
I think also to some degree the reason why she goes to the lab, I think it's more, or not more. I think my interpretation is that she's happy to resign herself just to a life of science.
Yeah. It's kind of like
as long as she gets to do what she loves, she's happy being a prisoner, doing whatever,
and it's better than lumbering.
And destroying like the earth. And
so she wants to try to help it essentially. So, and this is where the main mystery of the whole book comes in. Other than the Wang storyline, this is like when the main mystery comes in, where what is this lab doing? Because on the surface, it just looks like a research facility.
And just a big radar dish.
And what she's seen, though, from when she first went in, was that they were testing the radar. It was testing the antenna itself. And it shot like this red beam of like microwaves towards a cloud. And she saw something in the clouds that moved, or something like the cloud glowed red. It like moved away. Something was going on in the sky that was very unnatural to her. So I kind of like, perked up her ears and like, wait, so there's something else going on here? But, through that, probably my favorite chapter in the whole book is this story of what her in the lab.
Her storyline is easily the best part of the book.
It's easily the best part of the book. Her climbing the ranks of just being like looking at computers and seeing results, or her like doing experiments. All under a watchful eye, of course, because she's still a prisoner technically.
And even her progressing and being told, what's even happening. Like, at first she's not really clued in, told, like, wrong. Like, you reminded me.
Yeah, so, like, the two people that follow her around everywhere is the general. I forgot their names. They're very, like, Chinese names. They're very hard to pronounce.
Yeah,
it's very hard to pronounce. So pretty much there's a general and another scientist with her, following her everywhere, getting her, like, with her results, how she's doing. And not that they grow to like her, but she's growing more, more trusted, with more information, more technology. Like, where she started was very old school technology, very out of date. But now she's starting to become... She's in part... Want me to take that, by the way?
No, I'm good.
We're good? All right. So she's more, like, in more technologically advanced areas now. And what the military general is... And by the way, that kind of set her off that there's military here.
Yeah.
It's a military base.
Because it's a science.
It's a science... On the surface, it's science. But when she goes in there, she was told that this is a military base.
Yeah.
Military are, like, guarding it, safeguarding it hard. And so, essentially... what the military general told her was that they're using microwaves like a micro ovens that we have at home were very taboo back then, I guess, in that part of China at the time, and they're very rare. How they talked about them, and how like they're talking about how in the West Americans have microwaves to reheat food using small amount radiated microwaves to do it. Explain how a microwave works. And so they're using that science to use microwaves to damage enemy satellites in orbit. That's what the military person's telling her. That's what
at first.
That's the first secret of it was like, hey, we're using these to overheat like American and Russian satellites in orbit, so we can like space racy stuff, Cold War stuff to get ahead of them technologically, because they're getting new satellites, so they want to have a little space war with them. And they call it like enemy vessels, enemy aircraft, right? And the scientists used to get mad. And how I thought at first was that scientists was getting mad because the military general was telling her these things. And the scientists like, why are you telling her? Like, we don't trust her. Or like, that's how it read.
It came across like
that's how it came across.
And you're like, wow, this guy's like an asshole.
Yeah, this guy's a jerk, right?
Yeah.
And that's how Ye saw it.
Mhm.
She was like, this guy's a jerk. I like this military guy. He's telling me things. He trusts me. But then when she climbed the ranks even more, they brought her into like an executive meeting. She said there's a lot of people there that she didn't know or ever saw on the base. Very, very well-to-do people. And the military and the scientists were there. The military general and the scientists were there too. And that's where she found out the true meaning. So instead of the scientists being mad at the general for telling her secrets, the scientist was mad at the general for not telling her the right truth. Was telling
Like the real thing.
the
that they're
real
doing.
reason, not that they're killing satellites out the air. The real reason is that in these microwaves, they are sending messages out to somewhere, to something.
Just whatever's out there, like nothing specifically.
Nothing
They're
specific.
just beaming it out,
Yeah.
seeing who will respond.
And right now, the mystery is that like because there's so much military there are some results that they're getting. It seems like because she says that like there's a lot of military here, so this must be a real like up and coming part of science. So that's what they're doing. They're not that they're contacting something yet.
And like they haven't reached.
They haven't
people
reached
yet.
anything yet, but they are getting signals from far places, stuff like that.
Or like I think
Yeah.
I think what it is happening more just from memory, because I can't say whether or not, because I don't think they've seen signals. I think it was more they thought it was promising.
Yeah.
And like they're just like, yeah, like let's get ahead of everyone else. Kind
Exactly. So that's what they did. Get ahead of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it was. They're trying to contact extraterrestrial life. That's what they said. It was like search for extraterrestrial life, extraterrestrial intelligence.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what the department shows. Then all of a sudden that she knows now. So then you fast forward 40 years later, and we talked about how scientists were, unaliving themselves all across China,
And physics is dead.
and physics is dead. So now we're back to the Wang storyline.
I think like is that I think have we fully covered the Wang storyline too?
I just want to catch up because I want to go into how Wei comes into it.
Okay.
So essentially, one of the main the main scientists who died, Wang visited her mother to kind of get more answers and to like visit her mother because apparently one of his colleagues told her that the mother's lonely. So the mother turned out to be Wei
Yay, Wen-Jie.
Wen
Yeah,
Jie.
the woman from the lab.
From the last 40 years earlier, the other main character. It turned out to be her 40 years later, so she's elderly now.
Which
yeah.
at first, because you called it when you first met her.
Yeah.
When it was revealed to me,
Yeah.
when I was listening, I was like, no way.
I only called it because
That's
I
crazy.
knew that Ye Wen-Jie, 40 years in the beginning of the book, was an astrophysicist. And then
She was described as
she was described as an astrophysicist. Like, she's like, oh, so the scientist that died, her name was Yang Dong. They're like, oh, you might want to meet Yang Dong's mother. She might give you some answers. She used to be an astrophysicist. So that kind of like gave me like the only astrophysicists that were mentioned in the books were Ye Wen-Jie, and that was his grandmother. So I kind of thought that was the same woman. Especially 40 years later, kind of matched up that she's an older woman. And and that's where we found out when Wang visited her. That's when she told the story of the lab, and it went back in the book to like the flashback where we learned all this.
because her story is very much like split up.
It's
throughout
split up.
the
Like
story.
you find out when she gets to the lab, it's the first 2 chapters, and then you don't see her for another 100 pages about the story. Like we don't revisit it for a while.
And then
until-
after where you are, it'll come up again. In a while.
yeah. So Yang will so because of Yang, we know the story of Ye Wen-Jie, and that's pretty much it right now. So like then right after that's when he discovered that there's 3 suns and how to describe it, and then the most recent time he went into the game 3 Body, he realized that there's 3 suns and that the people that are around him, the players and the NPCs, that the 3 sun idea is common knowledge now. They kind of the game even said it because it'll say like multiple civilizations, it'll like go on subtitles on the screen, and it'll be like civilization 137 died because of this. It's kind of like give you like a narration of what happened after everyone died every single time.
Like the entire
Yeah.
history of this
It resets.
alien civilization.
Yeah, it
Because
resets. Yeah.
you've figured out like these
Yeah.
are like the aliens.
Yeah, it's very for sure, and it's very like kind of in your face almost.
Especially when they're dehydrating and stuff, it is kind of like, okay,
Yeah, exactly.
This must be what these things are.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of interesting that they're mimicking human civilization.
Yeah.
That's why like I don't
I
want to
think
dive
they're
too much
almost
into
doing
that yet.
that like to make it easy for players to understand and follow, and
Yeah.
maybe even get like kind of attached to some degree, or like have some kind of emotional connection.
Yeah, to them. So it's very interesting. So now it's common knowledge that there's three suns, and they're trying to figure out how to predict the three body problem, how to solve the three body problem. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now. And then in the real world, scientists are like found dead in their houses. The people who are on the inside are like being found dead, and like the mystery is just unfolding right now. That's kind of like where I'm at.
And in the real world, one of my favorite characters, Dai Shi,
Yeah,
is
Dai Shi.
like the investigator protecting Wang and
he's
like,
the most, like,
looking into all this stuff.
The most like normal one in terms of like education. He's just a police a dirty cop who's trying
It's
to
like a noir
yeah,
detective.
is that like a dirty cop who's trying to redeem himself? So they kind of give him like this.
He's so good at his job, though.
Yeah, but he's really good at his job. He's dirty cop because I think he like for police brutality. I think he beat some people that just didn't deserve it. So he's trying to literally trying to redeem his image with this investigation.
I love Dai Shi.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great character. So
he's always chain smoking.
He's always chain. Yeah, he's
cool.
always a shovel. Like, he's a mess. But he's really smart. Like they said, he has a special set of skills, and this is why he's here. And he's the one that mainly him and Wang are the ones trying to uncover what's going on with the scientists. And as of right now, the countdown has to come back for Wang. Wang is pretty much working with like the committee, with like the police and the military to figure out the big conspiracy here. And so we shall see. So that's where you have the three body game. You have the Wang scientist conspiracy. And how does that connect?
To Ye Wenjie.
How does that connect to what Ye Wenjie was doing too?
Let me take the reins real quick.
Yeah.
And so we got the synopsis out of the way. We're up to speed. What do you think is the relevance of Ye Wenjie? What do you think is her importance?
She always says come back sometime, right? And I feel like every time Yang is gonna go back, she knows more. I feel like she knows more than she's letting on, and she always says like at the end when she's telling her stories that she's getting tired, she wants to go to sleep. So like I
get into the good parts, and she's like, I'm gonna
get my tea, but she knows more.
Yeah.
And I think obviously through her we're gonna figure out, because she mentioned that eventually why. So you're probably wondering, how is she able to be free? How is she having a family?
Exactly. That's what's also shocking.
So
how did she get out?
But they said it that they said it in like early in the book that she said the lab went out of business. They lost funding. Do I believe that? Don't know. Because how does something so important, military generals are in there, how does it just lose funding and then eventually all the scientists just left and they just let them leave? So how did Ye Wenjie actually leave the lab? So I'm sure we'll find out eventually, but she's pivotal though.
What do you think happened in the lab? Like, what do you think happened in the 40 years?
In the 40
between
years?
in that lab?
I'm assuming,
especially after hearing that they're trying to contact people, and now that there's aliens with VR,
apparently
doing shit on Earth.
So
what happened?
What happened at the lab? So I'm assuming, like, it's very surface level, I'm about to say, just because my brain's so fried. Your brain gets a little like overloaded reading the book.
Yeah, because literally though, the amount of science in that book is really overwhelming.
The author, he does not write the book for I mean, anyone could pick up the book and read it. I recommend it, obviously.
It's not for the faint of heart.
You gotta be prepared to think. You can't turn your brain off and just read it. So you have to have your brain on and really think. It's a lot of calculations, a lot of math, like jargon, a lot of physics jargon. Like they don't expect you. They expect you to know something, or to Google something. Like I had to Google a bunch of terms I didn't know what meant.
And if they explain something once, they won't explain it again.
And for some projects that they name, some sciences that they name, there are footnotes in the book. And if you read the footnote, it'll give you a brief synopsis or history.
I didn't have that with the audiobook.
You didn't have that, yeah. So, but there's footnotes at the bottom.
That's good.
And it'll give you a brief history and synopsis of what it is, like what you're reading, of like what this name means. So that's good. So I think is that, easy. Obviously, I think they got results. Yeah. I think they want to cover it up, because I think all this is a huge cover it up with the scientists dying in the modern times. So I think it all stems from who they contacted 40 years ago. I think they contacted a civilization, obviously intelligent life, and that's like all I could think of. They got results. They didn't know how to handle it, or who they contacted was just, I guess, the wrong type of intelligent life to contact. I'm not gonna look at him because he knows more than I do. I don't want to look at his face, so I'm just gonna look at your faces. So I think they did it. I think they found life. I think the results.
I mean, anywhere is better than here. Am I right?
I don't. Yeah, but it's just very interesting. I think Ye Wen-Jay found something. I think they found something there. They don't know how to handle it. Something went wrong in the lab, and ever since then, it's a big cover up that these modern scientists, they tapped into something. They probably tapped into the same things that those scientists tapped into, and now it's become more of a conspiracy in modern times. But I just don't know it. And the military, the Chinese military is involved. I don't know if they're involved to cover it up again. I don't know. Also, there's CIA members and
especially now, like modern times.
Modern times,
like investigate it.
Why is the military involved again? Why doesn't the military know what's going on if they have all these records that are probably sealed off? But even the old military doesn't know what's happening. But CIA
Which makes you think.
Which makes you think.
Yeah.
Like, everything was burned. So CIA is involved. Members from the UK are involved.
This is literally big
Yeah.
enough to make entire country, like all different countries, work together.
Exactly. So when Wang first got involved in the investigation, they didn't tell him anything. They're like, hey, I just need you to talk to your friends and write down or like record what you hear and see.
Yeah.
But when he kept talking to the general, not Dashi, I think the general told him, was like, Wang was like, can you just please give me a breadcrumb? I need to know something. And he's like, because so Wang is not a physicist. He works in nanomaterials. So he's kind of like new to the physicist world. He just has a lot of physicists and scientist friends. So that's why he's very important.
Because before this, he was doing like nano thread.
Nano thread, exactly. So essentially, nano threading. That's what he was doing. So pretty much, he was like, please give me a breadcrumb. I don't know what I'm doing here. And all these words don't make sense to me. And then he pretty much said, like, the general was like, the worst thing to ever happen in your field or into their fields in terms of like survivability, the worst thing to happen in their field to planet Earth is happening, essentially. Pretty much like, this is code red, whatever's happening with them. That's essentially what he was told, the little breadcrumb. And while he was being told this, he was still dealing with the countdown. It was like in the beginning of the book. So like, obviously there's a connection there. And so, yeah, what I'm thinking is very surface level because I just can't think of like the intricacies.
I'm gonna ask you to push yourself here.
Okay.
All right. Do the best you can. What do you think is going to happen in the next 2 books?
In the next 2 books.
Because try to predict what's gonna happen in this book a little bit, and just where do you foresee this all going?
At the very least,
especially. I gave one spoiler, and I'll say it here because this is like kind of a spoiler thing. Yeah. That we never see an alien.
Oh yeah.
We don't know what they look like or anything.
Which I kind of like. It's kind of like the mystery that I hoped. Like when I heard that, and it's good because I don't want to get disappointed because I would have been disappointed if I never saw it. But now that I know that,
it makes it more interesting.
It makes him like. I don't want to not see obviously because it's a book, but I don't want to like read about the description of the alien to be disappointed, but like, oh, yeah, that's the aliens. That's wreaking this physics havoc. But I like that the mystery the mystery of that. But,
so what do you think happens if we never see them? How do you think this goes?
If we never see them, either I think it's gonna. So I think it has something to do with the game, obviously. Yeah. That's the very least, the very base ground floor.
No, dude, I'm telling you, the game never comes up again.
That's why. So I don't know if the game is gonna become one reality. No. Okay. So let me think.
I'll stop giving answers.
Yeah, don't give answers. I'm not gonna look at you. I'm not gonna look at you.
I'm gonna hear.
But I think that the results, who they contacted, what they contacted, are gonna contact them again, and it's gonna be on a crazier level. They have, I guess, more technology now. They know more about it. I think what Ye Wen-Jay knows now is gonna be unreal. Like the plot twist is gonna be unveiled, and then it's gonna how is China or how are these scientists, academics gonna deal with the fact that maybe these aliens are closer than we think in the real world, not just in the virtual game. They're closer than we think. Or worst case scenario, they're here. They're manipulating physics. I don't know. They're trying to manipulate it to like look more like their world, or that, and then on a more political, because there's politics in this, military's involved, CIA's involved, how this would affect how world politics are done, that China.
I will say that's
Yeah.
an interesting thing that he goes into.
So like, because they
Like
mentioned
world
that the
politics?
space race in the beginning, it was such a big thing in the beginning of the book, was that like, hey, we had to get out there before Russia and America does.
Yeah.
So what? So, and they mentioned it in the flashback where Ye Wen-Jie was like, yeah, but guys, like, what do we do when we have first contact? How do we hide that information from the other countries? Because that's an advantage.
Yeah.
That's either an advantage or a disadvantage. You know what I mean? They really don't know. So I think it's gonna be how the world. I'm assuming like they're gonna get contacted again, whether it's through like the radio, like microwave, or through like the, through the microwaves that went out 40 years ago. Are they gonna bounce back eventually with a response? And how is the modern world gonna deal with that? How are these scientists gonna deal with that? I personally think there's this Lord character. A lot of the scientists that died, the main one being Shea Wu Fei, they found her shot dead in the house at the end of where I'm at, halfway through the book. And she was the main one that always talked about her Lord. Her Lord. Like, is it God? It goes into that a little bit. Like, who's out there? Who is her Lord? Because how her husband talked about it was not a real, it wasn't like God and Jesus how we know it in the modern times. This was a physical person, someone physically that she's talking about that exists. Not exists, that physically exists in front of her.
That she's able to speak
That she's
with.
able to speak with. Because the husband went to a monk about it. It was like, is she just talking about like God? And the monk was like, or like Buddha or something. Like, and then the monk of the Buddhism was like, I think who she's talking about actually is real. Like, really in front of her. How she's talking about them. So, and then she was just found shot dead halfway through the book. So, and apparently the person who shot her dead, they're kind of like going after him right now where I'm at. And he also talked about saying, my Lord wants this, my Lord wants that. So apparently they're like on two separate sides of the aisle with what the Lord wants. I think the scientist that shot her, he believes the Lord wants goodness for the earth, while she was more evil with what the Lord wants. That was a weird thing that they talked about, an argument that they heard before she was found dead. But so if it's something that she's talking to, that she talks about for decades, the Lord, that tells me that they found the Lord at the 40 years ago, at whoever this Lord figure was there, contacted them, they got results, and whatever happened to that, the lab got destroyed, or the lab, like, people just died at the lab, scientists probably disappeared, died at the lab, that this is the same Lord that is contacting scientists now, and the same thing is happening, and scientists are dying, like, unaliving themselves. So I think the Lord's become, I don't know, you said we never saw them, the Lord's going to contact somebody, something, so contact, like, respond, they're going to get more results. So I just, that's what I kind of think of. The Lord's powerful. They could affect physics.
That makes me think.
Yeah.
How do you think, like, not only how do you think they're able to affect physics on Earth, how do you think they're able to even put that clock on Wang's eye?
I think the three-body problem is a representation of what Earth is. I think that it's a virtual game within a virtual game. That's my craziest theory, almost, that, like, three-body problem is just, like...
Oh, like the entire universe is in a virtual world?
In a game like that, where you can edit it, plop a countdown on somebody's head, or flicker the universe, they say,
Make it wink at you.
Made it wink at you, so they could control things. This is a race intelligence that can control physics. So it tells me, what if, like, I don't know.
Because I will say, we don't know how long they've even been around.
No, we don't know yet, but at the
how
very
many
least,
civilizations they've had.
Exactly. But I don't even remember that ending of Men in Black.
First one?
The first one, where
Kind of.
where it shows New York and it keeps expanding out to the Earth, to the outer planets, to the Milky Way, and then it's like this little marble, and a little alien hand has marbles and just like playing with marbles, and that's like our universe.
Yeah.
And then the alien opens a bag and puts like there's other marbles in, and that's our universe. That's how, like, it's kind of how I think something like that. That I think there's this creator, like, persona is out there, like the creator, because so it's like I think like an overlord, could control everything, that was in the shadows. That some people, not overlord. That sounds very tongue to cheek, but like
you have some interesting ideas.
but a powerful intelligence that's out there that, I don't know. The virtual world within the virtual world is kind of like my craziest.
I'm so
thing.
excited for you to get to book 3. Anyone who's read this series will know
Yeah.
exactly why I'm so excited from what he's like talking about and stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's when I'll say book 3 is when a lot more of like the greater universe is explained and stuff.
Yeah.
Like all of that stuff. So
Yeah. So I think like where I'm at right now, if I really have to dive deep and go kind of crazy with it, I think we're just like a pawn in whoever this like we're just like a planet in their bag of marbles of planets that they have, like their universe that they have, and so because they can like it's like they're editing the universe. Like they're like, oh, no more physics. Oh, I can make the universe flicker for a second.
theoretically, a race that is like sufficiently like advanced enough, they could probably like use physics as a weapon.
Exactly, and that's what I think is happening. I don't think whoever this race is not a nice one.
No.
And they are either like grooming Earth to their standards, or maybe the three body game is a test on how Earth will respond to them doing that. And maybe if they now, when they show their cards finally, since they played the three body game, Earth will be more. The academics of the world would be more responsive to it, because like, oh, it's just like the game. But of course, I think like we're in the game the whole time. It's just I think we're literally just like a modern time. We're in a modern version of the three body where we made it to the modern times. So I don't know if one day Yang is gonna go outside and there's two suns and he's like, shit.
That'd be crazy.
Like shit. Like this is the game now. So there's so many things you could. There's so many storylines. You have Ye Wenjie's history at the lab 40 years ago. You have Yang's conspiracy right now. Then you have the conspiracy within the game itself. How to beat three body, and maybe the aliens or the extraterrestrial life are looking for somebody to beat the game, to maybe to use that person, to use use Yang or Wang, to use Wang if he could beat the three body problems, to use him, or I don't know, using Earth's academics to solve problems in their world or something. But
that's a point that I think you make a really good point, that they're like using otherworld like academics to solve their problem.
Yeah, they're using the world some way. They're using us. You know what I mean? That's they have the control to use us. You know what I mean? And the people who are finding too much are just disappearing. And the people who I don't know, like that's what I think. It's very early. I'm only halfway through the first book, but that's what I'm getting at. Like it's just something going on. So I know when we finish, what we're gonna do a follow up when I finish this book at least, and then we'll do a follow up when I finish all three. But for sure, at least, right?
One last question.
Yeah.
So I told you, book 2 answers. One thing, book 2 answers, or gives an answer to the Fermi paradox, which I explained to you like an hour ago what it was, where it's like you knew about this, I think.
Yeah, when you explained it to me, I know it was. Yeah.
The Fermi paradox is this guy, I forget his name, but his last name was Fermi. Go figure.
Go figure.
He had this thought, like I think he was astrophysicist or astronomer or something, but he was looking out and he saw so much space. There's so many planets, so many stars, but there's only us. Like, where is everybody? That's pretty much the question. Like, where is everyone, giving all this space, area, time, and everything, and we're the only thing that we could tell was ever here. Why? And book 2
goes into that.
Gives, I think, one of the best explanations I've ever heard. Though it scares the living shit out of me.
Yeah.
But it is probably one of the best explanations. And when I read it, it completely changed the way I look at the world. What do you think the answer is?
To why?
To why?
The answer to the Fermi paradox?
Yeah, what do you think is at least the answer in this world? What do you think is the reason why we're the only ones that we could see?
I mean, I would have to go into like what I really think, right?
Maybe.
What I really think is that I think we're, compared to other intelligent species out there, intelligent civilizations, we are at the bottom of the barrel.
Interesting.
I think that those civilizations literally wouldn't even waste looking at us. They're like, oh, those people on Earth, like, they're years behind. You know what I mean?
What
Compared
if
to where they're
we?
at.
What if there are two civilizations that are similar in age and other stuff and like
Mhm.
capability?
Mhm.
Like,
Like
how would they respond to each other?
it's I don't know. How I see in this book is that I don't know, everything's very politically charged.
Mm-hmm.
And what I go to is that in those messages, Ye Wenjie, when they're sending the messages out, that the messages were very politically charged too.
Yeah.
They were more like, oh,
Spreading communism.
join us and and help us defeat the imperialists of
Yeah.
America and
Yeah.
shit like that. And it's like, dude,
The evil people
the
conquering
evil,
the world.
and can guarantee you that whoever's responding could care less. They don't see it as Chinese, American, Russian, communist, imperialist. They see it as human race. So I just think the answer to that is that kind of goes into how this intelligence life works, is that we're being used. I don't know if somebody's putting a blindfold over our eyes on purpose to use us, or to cultivate us and be like, oh, let's not show them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not pull back. Let's not flicker out the universe and pull back the filter to show them what's really out there. Let's keep them confined and let's study them. Let's just see what they do. That's how I kind of like think of it as now. I think
like people are just watching, or aliens are just watching.
There's intelligence just watching us to see like, oh, what's gonna happen this weekend, on Earth, and let's not let them know the bigger, wider spectrum of what's going on. And because if they did, they probably think like, oh, they're too stupid to know what's going on or to even understand it. So I just don't, it goes into like, I think these aliens are using us.
Aliens are people too.
Not they might look like people. I don't think it's shapeshifters.
We don't know what they look like.
Who knows?
We will never know what they look like.
I hope not. I don't like, because I feel like if
Don't read the first book or the fourth book, the fan made one.
The fan made one. Apparently, there's a fan made one that showed that.
Oh, dude, it is genuinely like one of the worst things ever. I've read excerpts and it's just genuinely the worst.
Don't read anything fan made. Just don't. If it's not by the
dude.
author.
I'm so sad that the fan made one. Just a quick aside. This fan made fucking fourth book took away a fourth book made by the original creator from us.
Yeah.
You
think so?
He said as much.
He said that?
Yeah, he like, this guy made a fourth book in the same universe. He was like, yeah, sure, whatever, make it. And then once it came out, he's like, I don't really feel a desire to really cover it. I mean, this guy gave his idea of what happened. I mean, I don't really feel the need.
Son of a bitch.
Right? Yeah.
He ruined it.
I've never been more disappointed in my life. Let's just say that. Because especially after the third book, dude, I want more.
Yeah, fair.
I need more.
But yeah, so I recommend it if you really like something mysterious.
First book only though.
First book so far.
First book is the only mystery.
Yeah, it's very mysterious.
It's like suspense. It's almost like crime mystery too.
Yeah.
As well as sci-fi. Second and third book, all hardcore sci-fi.
Yeah.
Hardcore sci-fi.
So if you're like someone who likes to watch TV instead of books, I don't recommend it. Me and him today watched.
Yeah, we are
first
book snobs.
Me and him today watched the first episode of the Netflix adaptation, and it's just they changed a lot.
I've watched the whole season. We will eventually do. I think.
Will. Yeah. We'll do it with Bree and Claire.
Yeah, and hopefully by then you will be done with the book series, and it will include a review of the book series, comparing it to the show.
Yeah, we're gonna do that for sure. That's if we want to.
If you're not ready, I will do it alone.
He will do.
I will do it for you guys.
He's so locked in.
I've been waiting for this. I've been begging.
We're back. Let's just say we're back. So we got a Deadpool video coming out soon.
Yes, we are. So, reason why we're not at the usual place is we are away going to see Deadpool. That's why it's only us.
Yeah.
And we are gonna do an episode tonight. We don't know which is gonna come out first. Potentially there might be a third person for the.
That'd be cool.
The Deadpool video.
Yeah, meet a friend of ours who knows a lot about comics and whatnot.
So potentially be fun. Be on the lookout for that
Yeah,
if it hasn't come out yet.
That's gonna be out. That's gonna be out soon. We're filming it tonight. But so yeah, I recommend this book if you like mystery. So my girlfriend Brie, who's usually on the the seat with us,
The real responsible one.
yeah, the one who like actually like runs the show. She hates it when she can't tell what's going to happen. Like if she can't read it or can't figure it out, she would not read the rest.
You will not see any of this shit coming.
If you're that person, you might not like this book because I don't think you could figure it out.
Yeah, no.
At least where I'm at right now. And where I'm at now, I'm still kind of lost. And I'm like 250-ish pages in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I still
You're more than like halfway through.
I'm more than halfway through. I might finish it by tomorrow night. But yeah.
I will say, you got maybe 2% of that right. I think you
I'll
maybe
take it. Listen,
you will be like on the right track for something. I'm like, oh, and then you'll go like veer far left, and I'm like, I have no idea where he just went.
yeah.
With
Listen. I'll take that. At 2%, I was expecting 0%. To be honest, I'll say 2%.
You had some good good stuff.
It can go anywhere.
It would. Some of what you said, honestly, would be interesting on its own.
Yeah.
But comparing it to this, I much prefer this.
I'll write the book. Four body problem. The four body question.
Okay. To end this.
Yeah.
Do you think if a 3-body problem's impossible, do you think like 4 would be like genuinely like just add more, it would be easier?
That'd be easier because it's even numbers.
That's fair.
Because it could be two.
Two revolve around each other.
So that'd be easier, right? 5.
What about 5?
50.
Make like 10.
A 51 body problem. Then I don't think you could
that would just that's like the galaxy at that point.
7 body because it's like a prime number. 7 body problem. Nah, that's impossible. But so that's my first impressions of the book so far. We're gonna have an episode when I complete it, and you can compare where I was then. We're
gonna contrast ourselves.
Yeah, contrast and compare
in the episode.
Yeah, where we're at now versus where I'm gonna be next week when I finish it.
And we might even do like this for book 2, where it's like we might
first impressions, predictions. But I guess I went halfway through the book, because I love like this kid is gonna be just like
I'm gonna be
enjoying my ride through it. He's been wanting me to read this book for a while.
I've been trying for over a year and a half to get like since December 2022 to get anyone in my life to read this series. Literally anyone. Yeah. I've been trying desperately. Mm-hmm. I finally convinced someone.
And I am on the roller coaster and I'm flying through the book. I just started reading it a couple days ago. I'm flying through it, I think. So,
dude, I can't wait till you get to book 2 because this is easily the worst book in the series, in my opinion. Easily the worst book, and it's not bad. It's not bad by any means, but it's easily the worst. Yeah, it gets so crazy. Mm-hmm. I am so excited to hear what you have to say and to see. I am so excited to see your thoughts on your predictions and everything.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that'll do it for us. I'm so glad. We're glad and happy to be back in the chairs shooting content again for you guys. So
absolutely,
we'll be coming back. We probably have a bear episode coming back for season 3.
Hopefully,
eventually.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's a short binge, so we get that done. So hopefully that's follow up with our last bear episode. So so we got this book coming up. We got Deadpool we're gonna shoot tonight. We got some content coming.
Be on the lookout.
Be on the lookout.
Sorry for the wait.
We got new equipment now. We're testing it out. Yes, sir. We're leveling up. So you definitely get more content pumped out for you guys. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Follow us on socials. You'll probably be in the description whenever we edit.
Yeah, we'll put it in. Listen, it's a little janky because we don't have the responsible one.
We don't have the responsible one. Yeah. Believe me, I'll tell her. She'll figure it out.
Yeah, she'll be disappointed in us.
We're the talent.
Yeah.
We're not the...
Listen, I just work here. We just show up.
We just work here. We show up. She told me to show up. I'm here. She said, you better shoot an episode this weekend. I was like, I'm sorry, ma'am. So, So thank you for watching.
Bye. Peace out.